September 19th, 1356. 7,000 exhausted English and Gascons stood behind a hedge southwest of Poitiers. Arrows running low, food almost gone, horses dying. Across the field, 20,000 fresh French troops, the greatest army France had assembled in a decade. King John II himself leading. The English Prince Edward, 26 years old, had just been caught. His raid through France had gone too far. Now the French king wanted him destroyed. 7 against 20, no way out. But what happened next changed the balance of power in Europe for decades. The French king ended up in chains, a third of France handed over, and a ransom demand so massive it broke the French economy. How did 7,000 men crush 20,000? What mistakes did the French make? And why did this victory almost destroy England's own prince? You're about to hear how terrain, tactics, and one hidden cavalry charge decided the fate of kingdoms. 40,000 French cavalry charging uphill into English longbows. Total slaughter, 3,000 French dead, 40 English. The lesson stuck. Let them come to you, pick your ground, make the arrows count. Destroy crops, wreck the economy, make the French nobles look weak, undermine the feudal bond. The prince's force hits town after town. Perigueux burns, Brantôme burns. By early September, they've covered hundreds of miles, torching everything that won't pay ransom. Wagons loaded with plunder, silver, tapestries, livestock. The loot slows them down, but they keep pushing northeast toward the Loire. Problem: King John II of France is done watching. He's been dealing with a revolt in Normandy. His nobles hate him. Arras rebelled and killed his supporters. Normandy refuses to pay taxes. On April 5th, 1356, John arrested Charles II of Navarre and 9 critics. 4 got executed on the spot. The rest of France is falling apart, but John decides the Black Prince is the bigger threat. He assembles the largest mobile army France has fielded in years, 35,000 men at full strength, though he dismisses 15 to 20,000 slower infantry to move faster. What's left? 14 to 16,000 mounted men-at-arms, crossbowmen, the best knights in France. John himself will lead. The Oriflamme, the sacred red banner of France, goes with him. Carrier: Geoffroy de Charny, author of the Book of Chivalry, veteran of a dozen campaigns, bearer of the royal standard. When the Oriflamme flies, no quarter. Intelligence says the Duke of Lancaster is nearby across the Loire with reinforcements. The prince waits 4 days. Lancaster tries to cross at Les Ponts de Ce, but gets repulsed by French forces. King John has split his army. He crossed the Loire at Blois on September 10th with the Count of Poitiers' division. They're moving fast, southwest along the river's north bank. The net is closing. By September 12th, the Black Prince knows he's in trouble. Lancaster can't reach him. The French are moving to cut him off. He turns south, baggage train creeping along the old Roman road toward Poitiers and Bordeaux. The French march faster. No wagons, just armed men. September 18th, Sunday, the French catch up near Poitiers, 6.5 kilometers south of the city. The Black Prince's army is trapped on the road. Marsh to the left. Woods of Noailles to the right. Vineyards and hedges everywhere. Terrain is broken. Not good for cavalry, not good for anyone, but there's no choice. The English can't outrun the French now. 35,000 against 7. He wants the prince's head, not his silver. The French demand total surrender. The Black Prince and his entire army must lay down arms. The English refuse. No one's surrendering. Negotiations collapse. Both sides prepare for battle the next morning. Front line, a narrow lane running north-south, flanked by hedges and vineyards. Gap in the hedge, wide enough for 4 knights to ride through. That's it. To the west, vineyard rows running parallel to the English line. To the east, wooded hill behind them. Marsh and the Meusson stream anchor the left flank. Baggage wagons pulled up on the right to block that side. The Black Prince organizes 3 divisions. Left wing, Earl of Warwick and Earl of Oxford. 1,000 men-at-arms, 1,000 archers, mostly Gascon lords. Jean de Grailly, Captal de Buch with them. Right wing, Earl of Salisbury and Earl of Suffolk, same numbers, Welsh and English longbowmen. Center, the Black Prince himself, 1,000 men-at-arms, 1,000 Gascon infantry. Everyone dismounts. Knights fight on foot, no charges. This is defense. 1 small unit stays mounted. 60 men-at-arms, 100 mounted archers under the Captal de Buste, hidden in the woods at the rear, reserved for emergencies. The archers dig earthworks on the flanks, position themselves in a V formation, arrows ready. English longbows, 1.5 to 1.8 meters long. Yew and hemp, arrows 83 centimeters, ash and oak shafts, bodkin points that punch through armor. Rate of fire, 15 arrows per minute. 1 every 4 seconds. Range, 300 meters effective. The French are 5 to 600 meters away when they array, out of bowshot, for now. Cross-referenced with the monk of Malmesbury's Eulogium Historiarum, circa 1366, recently translated by the United States Military Academy in 2022, and available through De Re Militari, alongside Jonathan Sumption's comprehensive narrative in the 100 Years' War Volume 2, updated through September 2025 on Wikipedia's extensively cited Battle of Poitiers entry. Now back to the information. September 19th, 1356. Dawn. The French army forms up in 4 divisions. First division, 300 mounted men-at-arms. Marshals of France. They're supposed to smash through the gap in the hedge, scatter the archers, break the line. Behind them, 3 more divisions on foot. King John learned from Crécy. Cavalry charges into longbows don't work, so most of the army dismounts. First battle after the mounted vanguard. The Dauphin Charles, 16 years old, nominal commander. Real leadership, Duke of Bourbon, Jean de Clermont the Marshal, experienced knights. Second battle, Duke of Orleans, the king's brother. Third battle, King John himself with 2,000 men-at-arms. His personal bodyguard, 400 picked knights, members of the Order of the Star, founded 1352. They swore an oath, never retreat from battle. The oriflamme flies above them. Geoffroy de Charny holds it. No quarter today. 300 knights in full plate, lances down, horses armored, heading for the gap in the hedge. They're brave. They're doomed. As they reach the gap, the English archers on both flanks open up. The horses take it in the sides and rear where the armor's weak. Animals scream. Knights crash down in the narrow passage. The gap becomes a killing box. Bodies pile up. Men trapped in armor can't get up. English and Gascon men-at-arms rush forward through the hedge, daggers and hammers out. Close combat. Brutal. The French crossbowmen can't shoot. Their own knights are in the way. The 1st French division breaks. Survivors retreat. First wave, repulsed. Perfect targets. The longbowmen fire constantly. Arrows punch through gaps in armor. Arm joints, neck, visor slits, face. Men go down. But the French keep coming. They reach the English line. Now it's hand to hand. Swords, axes, maces. The fighting is vicious. The French almost break through. The Dauphin's men are pushing hard. The Black Prince commits his reserves from the center. Fresh troops hit the French flank. The Dauphin's division staggers. They've been marching uphill in armor for hundreds of meters. They're exhausted. The arrows haven't stopped. The counterattack is too much. The Dauphin's battle pulls back. They withdraw in some order, but they're done. They blunder into the Duke of Orleans' division coming up behind. Both formations get tangled. Confusion. Panic spreads. His men see thousands of the Dauphin's troops falling back. Some are wounded. Some are running. Orleans makes a decision. He orders a withdrawal. His entire division turns around and leaves the field. No combat. They just go. Whether it was cowardice, misunderstanding, or seeing the writing on the wall, the result is the same. The Second French battle evaporates. Now only King John's division remains. 2,000 men at the start. But survivors from the first 2 battles have rallied to the king. Men from the Dauphin's shattered division. Men from the mounted vanguard who survived. Some from Orleans' division who refused to retreat. The king's force swells. Maybe 3,000, maybe more. All the elite, all the veterans, all the men who swore never to run. 3 French divisions, beaten or fled. Now the biggest one is coming. Fresh, determined, led by the king himself. English morale drops. Men look at each other. We've been fighting all morning. Arrows are almost gone. We're wounded. We're tired. One chronicler says the Black Prince prayed aloud. He knows his men are close to breaking. If the French hit them now, it's over. The Anglo-Gascon command group confers. Warwick, Salisbury, John Chandos. James Audley, they need something. An edge. They can't just stand and take another assault. Stay low. Use the terrain. Hit them from behind when they're committed to the front. It's a gamble. If the capital's men are seen too early, the French will adjust. If they're too late, the English line will break before they arrive. Timing is everything. He tells some men-at-arms to remount. He's going to counterattack. No more defense. They're going to charge. Horses are brought up from the rear. Knights swing into saddles. Lances are readied. The archers, out of arrows, drop their bows. They grab daggers, short swords, fighting hammers. They're going in too. Everyone's going in. The bolts hit English positions. Some men fall. But the English aren't just standing there anymore. The Black Prince gives the order, charge. The entire Anglo-Gascon army surges forward. Mounted knights explode through the hedge, straight into the French. The shock is massive. The momentum of horses and steel hits the French line like a hammer. Men-at-arms on foot follow. Archers sprint in from the flanks, screaming, daggers out. The French line buckles, but holds. These are the best troops France has. They fight back hard. Some French try to retreat. Others keep fighting. The confusion spreads. Men trip over each other. Formation dissolves. Struck by multiple attackers. At least 5 men-at-arms against 1. Froissart writes that the whole press and cry of battle was on him because he carried the sacred banner. The English and Gascons cracked open the king's formation and smashed it. Charny fought gallantly near the king and his 14-year-old son, but there were too many. He fell holding the oriflamme. The banner hit the ground among the dead and dying, the symbol of French royal authority lying in the mud. King John finds himself alone except his youngest son Philip, 14 years old. They're surrounded, Gascons and English everywhere. The king fights on. He's brave. His son fights beside him, but it's hopeless. Eventually, John agrees to surrender. Multiple men claim him. Denis de Morbecque, a knight from Artois, gets there first. The king offers his gauntlet. The surrender is official. King of France, prisoner of war. The casualties are staggering. The Black Prince is dispatched to his father. 3,000 French dead, 40 English killed. Likely the English number is higher, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 killed and wounded, 25% casualties. But the French losses are catastrophic. 2,500 men-at-arms dead, 2,000 to 3,000 captured. Among the prisoners, King John II, his son Philip, 17 great lords, 13 counts, 5 viscounts, 100 knights of significance, Geoffrey de Charny dead, clutching the oriflamme to the last, Jean de Clermont, Marshal of France, killed in the fighting, the French standard-bearer dead defending the royal banner, the elite of French chivalry wiped out or in chains. Chivalry demands it. The captured king is a fortune on 2 legs. His ransom will be legendary. The next day, the English army resumes the march to Bordeaux. They arrive in October. Geoffrey Hamlin, the prince's attendant, is sent to London with the king's tunic and helmet as proof of capture. England goes wild. Church bells ring. Celebrations everywhere. The impossible has happened. The King of France is a prisoner. But the victory has consequences no one fully sees yet. France is leaderless. The Dauphin, Charles, escaped from the ruin of his division. He's in Paris now, 19 years old, regent. The kingdom is in chaos. Populist revolts break out. The Estates General in October refuses to cooperate. Etienne Marcel, provost of merchants, leads the opposition. He demands political concessions. The Dauphin tries to raise money by devaluing currency. Marcel calls strikes. The Dauphin is forced to back down. In 1358, the Jacquerie peasant revolt erupts. Thousands of peasants rise up. They burn castles, murder nobles. The revolt gets crushed brutally, but the damage is done. France is fracturing. Normandy, Anjou, Maine, Aquitaine, all independent, not even feudal vassals. The Estates General rejects it outright. Too much territory. The price is insane. Edward III gets frustrated. October 1359, he launches another invasion, crosses the Channel with 10,000 men, targets Reims, the coronation city. If he takes it, he can crown himself King of France there. Legitimate claim. He besieges Reims. The city refuses to surrender. 1 month. No siege engines. Winter weather. Supplies run low. Edward withdraws to Burgundy. He tries scorched earth. His army ravages northern France for 6 months. Thousands of square kilometers destroyed. Famine, disease. But the Dauphin uses the same strategy against him. Fortify the cities. Let the English burn the countryside. Don't give them a battle. It works. Edward can't force a decisive engagement. April 13th, 1360. Black Monday. Edward's army is near Chartres. Sudden temperature drop. Violent hailstorm. Horses and men die in the open. Hundreds killed by hail the size of fists. Edward takes it as a sign from God. He reopens negotiations directly with the Dauphin. By May 8th, 1360, they reach agreement. The Treaty of Bretigny. Smaller than London, but still massive. England gets Aquitaine, Gascony, Poitou, Saintonge, Aunis, Agenais, Périgord, Limousin, Quercy, Bigorre, Angoumois, Rouergue, Ponthieu, Calais, Guines. Full sovereignty. No homage owed. About 1/3 of France. Edward renounces his claim to the French throne in exchange. And the ransom, 3 million gold écus. Reduced from 4 million, but still catastrophic. John to be released after 1 million is paid. The rest in 6 annual installments of 500,000 écus each. He returns to France in December. Official celebrations. But the joy is bitter. The ransom is impossible. 3 million écus equals twice France's annual income. The taxes required are brutal. The gabelle, the salt tax, levies on every city. The population, already devastated by war and the Black Death, can barely pay. By 1363, only half the ransom has been raised. One of the hostages, Louis of Anjou, escapes from London in July 1363. He flees back to France, breaks his word. King John is devastated. His honor is at stake. The treaty requires the hostages to stay until the ransom is paid. Louis ran. John makes the decision. January 1364, he voluntarily returns to English captivity. He writes to Edward III. He can't raise the remaining ransom. He can't secure the release of the other hostages. So he'll come back himself. He sails to London, resumes his imprisonment. April 8th, 1364, King John II dies in captivity at the Savoy Palace. He's 55. He never sees France free of debt. He never gets his son back. He dies a prisoner because his honor demanded it. That's why they call him John the Good. Not because he was a good king, because he kept his word. The ransom was never fully paid. Charles V, John's son, becomes king in 1364. He's smarter than his father. He reforms the army. modernizes tactics. In 1369, he reopens the war. He uses the treaty's failure as justification. Edward III never formally renounced his claim to the French throne in the required ceremony. Charles says the treaty is void. Hostilities resume. Over the next decade, the French recapture almost all the territory lost at Bretigny. The Black Prince, meanwhile, is falling apart. He campaigns in Spain in 1367, wins the Battle of Najera, but he contracts dysentery. His health collapses. He never fully recovers. By 1370, he's too sick to lead. He returns to England in 1371. He dies in 1376, age 45, never becoming king. His father, Edward III, dies the next year. The legacy of Poitiers, a crushing English victory that bled France dry but didn't end the war. It just shifted the balance for a decade. 17 great lords captured, 13 counts, 5 viscounts, 100 significant knights. The oriflamme, sacred banner of France, taken. The ransom, 3 million gold écus, roughly 6 years of France's entire national income. Payment schedule, 1 million up front for the king's release, then 500,000 per year for 6 years. 83 noble hostages as guarantee. Territorial losses at Bretigny, 1/3 of France. Full sovereignty. No homage. English casualties. Official dispatch says 40 dead. Likely higher, maybe 2,000 total, but still a ratio of 1 to 3 or worse for the French. The Battle of Poitiers was closer than Crécy. The French fought hard. The Dauphin's division almost broke through. The King's division fought to the last. But the combination of defensive terrain, longbow supremacy, tactical flexibility, and the capital de Buc's flanking charge was too much. The mounted French vanguard got slaughtered in the hedge gap. The Dauphin's infantry took casualties the whole way uphill. By the time they reached the English line, they were exhausted and depleted. Third, French command decisions. The Duke of Orleans withdrawing his entire division without fighting. That was 2,000 or 3,000 men who just left. If they'd stayed, the English would have faced 5,000 or 6,000 in the final assault instead of 3. Orleans' retreat doomed the king. Fourth, the capital de Buc's flanking maneuver. 160 cavalry hitting the French rear at the critical moment. It shattered cohesion. Once the formation broke, the French couldn't recover. Fifth, English tactical flexibility. The Black Prince didn't just defend. When the moment came, he counterattacked. Mounted his men-at-arms, charged. That aggression, combined with the flank attack, turned defense into rout. Not enough coordination. The English force was smaller but cohesive. Veterans of Crécy, tight command under Warwick, Salisbury, the Black Prince. They'd fought together. They knew the plan. They trusted each other. Discipline held. When the French line broke, the English pursued in coordinated groups. When the capital de Buch flanked, the main force pressed harder. Synchronized violence. The French couldn't match it. Geoffroy de Charny's death is symbolic. He was the ideal of French chivalry. Author of the Book of Chivalry, royal standard bearer, veteran of the Smyrna Crusade in 1344, captured twice before Poitiers, ransomed both times. At Poitiers, he refused to retreat. He fought near the king. The oriflamme made him a target. Everyone knew it. At least 5 men-at-arms attacked him. They cracked open the king's formation around him. He fell with the banner in his hands. Froissart, the chronicler, calls him the most worthy and valiant of them all. Charny had written that a true knight should care less about death than about shame. He got his wish. He died in battle, defending his king, holding the sacred standard. No shame there. But his death didn't save France. It symbolized the end of an era. The old chivalric ideals, the mounted charge, the personal valor. All of it was being replaced by longbows, defensive positions, and tactical calculation. Poitiers was the proof. That had never happened before in the 100 Years' War. It wouldn't happen again. The psychological impact was enormous. If the King of France could be captured, what was safe? What was sacred? The Treaty of Bretigny gave England its maximum territorial expansion on the continent. 1/3 of France, full sovereignty, no feudal ties. Edward III achieved more than any English king since the Norman conquest, but it didn't last. Charles V was too smart. He rebuilt. He waited. He struck when the English were weak. By 1380, most of the territory was back in French hands. The ransom was never fully paid. The treaty failed. The war dragged on for another 70 years until 1453, when the French finally expelled the English from everything except Calais. But in 1360, standing in Bordeaux with King John in chains and 1/3 of France on paper, it must have seemed like England had won. The Black Prince was at his peak, 26 years old, victor of Poitiers, hero of England. He had decades ahead of him, except he didn't. The Spanish campaign broke him, dysentery, chronic illness. He spent the last 9 years of his life sick. He never became king. His son, Richard II, inherited the throne after Edward III died. Richard was 10. The kingdom was unstable. The gains from Poitiers evaporated. The victory was real. The glory was real. But the long-term outcome was failure. England couldn't hold what it won. France was too big, the population too large, the resources too deep. One brilliant tactical victory couldn't overcome strategic reality. There's a tomb in Paris that no longer exists. Geoffroy de Charny was buried initially at Poitiers after the battle. Then he was reinterred at the Church of the Celestines in Paris with honors. King Charles V gave him a hero's funeral. The tomb was destroyed during the French Revolution. Gone. But Charny's will specified something different. He wanted to be buried at Lire, his small fief, with parts of his body sent to other designated churches. Continuous prayer for his soul. That didn't happen. The state took over, made him a symbol. The tomb in Paris was propaganda. Look at our valiant knight who died for France. The problem is, Charny died. Because the French strategy was trash. He died because the Duke of Orleans abandoned the field. He died because King John attacked a fortified position with numerical advantage, but no tactical plan beyond forward. Charny's courage was real. His loyalty was real. His death was avoidable. If John had accepted the prince's offer, France keeps its army intact. No ransom, no territorial losses, no king in captivity, no treaty of Brittany. The entire course of the war changes, but John's pride demanded battle. He saw 7,000 tired Englishmen trapped on a road. He saw his chance for glory. He attacked, and he lost everything. The lesson: numerical advantage means nothing without tactical sense. Terrain matters, morale matters, coordination matters. The French had more men. The English had better ground, better weapons, better leadership, and better luck. That was enough. The roads outside Poitiers where the pursuit ended. So far, no major burial sites confirmed. The bodies were likely scattered across multiple locations. Some buried in haste, some left in the open, some in the Meusson stream. 3,000 dead in one afternoon. Most of them French. Their names lost. Their graves unmarked. King John got a state funeral when he died in London. Geoffroy de Charny got a tomb in Paris. The nobles who survived got ransomed and went home. But the common men-at-arms, the crossbowmen, the infantry who fought and died on both sides, they got nothing. No monuments, no chronicles detailing their courage. Just mud and blood and unmarked earth southwest of Poitiers. That's the real legacy, not the treaties, not the ransoms, not the banners. The ground where thousands of men killed each other over a king's pride and a prince's raid. And when it was over, the only thing that changed was who owned which piece of France on a map. The killing continued for another 97 years. The war ended in 1453 with a French victory. Poitiers bought England a decade of dominance. Then it was gone. The bodies stayed in the ground. The lesson stayed unlearned, and the cycle continued.